morning. My name is Rob Kunzman. I'm the Associate Dean for Teacher Education and School of Education. Thank you very much for coming. We are going to try and use your time well today. We're going to get a lot of things going on. I want to start off by saying that we really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us this morning to go over some of these things. If you're new, obviously there's going to be a lot of new information. If you've taught here before, hopefully there'll be some things that'll be good refreshers. I know I've been here 11 years teaching and been doing this presentation for years, and there's still things I have to renew and remind myself about, so hopefully that'll be the same for you. That being said, if there are ways that you think we can do a better job, or if there are ways that you think we're doing a good job with this orientation, we'd like to know. And you'll see behind your agenda, I believe, on the right-hand side of your folder, is an evaluation form that we're going to collect at the end of the morning. So please be thinking about ways in which you can give us some feedback, both constructive and laudatory, whatever. We're glad to hear it and try and adjust to future years. I will say, since I've started doing this, we have cut the length of this program every year. So it used to be one full day. So consider yourselves fortunate. We're honing down to the essentials, but hopefully not going past that. I'm going to go over a lot of information in the next 45 minutes or so. I want to let you know that the PowerPoint and the video of this will actually be posted on our website. So if you don't catch something, if you need a link, all the links are on the PowerPoint. So don't feel like you have to catch it all right now. Last thing I want to say is, you all are the heart of what we do here. The work that you do, the commitment that you bring to your teaching, is what makes the IU School of Education run effectively, and what helps prepare our teachers to impact the students in P12 setting. And so we take very seriously how we can best support you, and we want to hear from you if there are ways we can do that better, not only in terms of today, but throughout the year. And you should always feel free to stop by Suite 1000, the Office of Teacher Education, the Glassman Suite over here on this side of the wing, first floor. If you ever have any questions or concerns or issues, if I can't answer them, there's someone else who can. And we're glad to be partnering with you in that. Okay, so with that being said, for those of you who are new to the School of Education, or perhaps those of you who've never bothered to pay attention, this is the administrative structure. Gerardo Gonzalez and Joyce Alexander are the folks who run the place. And then you probably had some interaction with Elizabeth Bowling, the Dean of Graduate Studies, perhaps with Bob Sherwood in Research and Development, and then me over here in the corner with my colleague Jill Shedd, who oversee the Office of Teacher Education. The School of Education and the Teacher Education program is a very complicated, multifaceted operation. As you can see, the program is supported by 5 department areas, all the departments, as well as the College of Arts and Sciences and the Office of Teacher Education. Certainly wouldn't expect you to commit any of this to memory, other than to recognize that everyone and all departments in the school have a hand to play in teacher education preparation. So this is something that we take very seriously in terms of trying to communicate and coordinate, and sometimes we do it well, and sometimes we need to do it better. So again, if there are questions or things that come up in terms of how your role relates to the bigger picture, we're glad to address those. Thinking about course development, some of the ways that we can help support and point you to resources in terms of course development. As you prepare your courses, I encourage you to look at the School of Education's 6 guiding principles. You have the handout in your folder. These are principles and priorities that we think are important to weave throughout the experience of our students. And so it's worth thinking about and asking yourself, as you look at your course structure and philosophy and methods, are you incorporating all these things in ways that are appropriate and helpful for your students? Also, Indiana academic standards. Those of you who pay any attention to education policy in Indiana know that that is a moving target. Right? The Common Core was recently dispensed with, at least on the policy level, and they, over the summer, came up with a new set of standards. So you may want to take a look at those on the website with the link there, the State Department of Education. I think the takeaway point here is it's not so much preparing our students for those standards and only those standards. It's about helping them understand how to use standards and to be able to be familiar with these standards, because that's what they're going to have to be conversing with if they decide to stay and teach in Indiana. So something to keep in mind and to take a look at as it relates to your course. Some other resources that are available for you. One of the things I want to point out, and there's a screenshot in your folder to remind you. If you look on our website, under faculty and research, because there really was no other better place to put it, and then under instructor resources, all this information here, all these drop-down expandable menus have all the forms and different documents and policies that I'm going to be going over today. So this is the place that you may want to bookmark for the year to help you with that. The other thing I want to point out, the Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning. This is a campus-wide center that offers support and ideas for a range of topics, including syllabus construction, classroom climate issues, first day of class, how to lead discussions effectively, using technology. Those are all things that the Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning can help you with. In terms of syllabi, I'm hopeful that at this point you've already had the opportunity to take a look at examples from your program area, from the courses similar to yours or identical to yours in Maine, and you have some good models. But one of the things that the center will do also is provide some expanded training on that. Really, the key takeaway that's important for me to share with you in regards to your syllabi. Clarity is really important. When we have problems with students coming and complaining, which doesn't happen often, but when they do, it's oftentimes about a lack of clarity from instructors about expectations and requirements. Now, I realize that the best teachers and the best courses engage in an iterative unfolding process in terms of how they interact with their students and how they respond to where they're at and what they do as the semester unfolds. So that always needs to be balanced against, rigid expectations and structures. But what I would tell you is if you decide to make changes as the semester goes on, make sure you communicate that clearly in multiple ways with your students so that there's no question in their mind or in ours if the problem comes to us about what was expected and required. One last reminder about syllabi. You need to send them to our office. The reason for that is for our accreditation purposes, we have to collect them every semester. So there's the email to send them to once you get them done, if you haven't done that already. A few other resources to keep in mind. University calendar, pay attention to that on scheduled class on the day that the students aren't going to class. But the other piece that's important to look at is the religious holidays policy. And I would actually encourage you to perhaps even excerpt this in your syllabus. This is something you can look at more length, but the basic idea here is that we need to try and make reasonable accommodations for students in terms of their religious observances, but they also have the responsibility to communicate those well in advance if they're going to be missing classes or need to have adjustments in terms of deadlines and things like that. So the responsibility goes both ways in that regard, and that's important to communicate with them at the beginning of the semester so there's no confusion about that. If you are teaching a class that has what is called a key assessment, and if you don't know whether you are, please ask your program coordinator, faculty coordinator for the program area. If you have a key assessment in your class, you have to use iRubric to evaluate. It's part of our accreditation requirements. So these are our sort of keystone assessments throughout the teacher education experience for our students that have been identified, and they require the use of iRubric. Again, you'll need to check with your faculty member to see if that applies to you. If you need help with iRubric, the Office of Instructional Consulting is available to work with you, as well as regarding OnCourse and now Canvas. There's actually going to be an open house walk-in this entire week up on the second floor, Office of Instructional Consulting. And they'll be here a little bit later in the morning to talk with you in more detail about the services that they offer. Another technology resource is for your students more specifically. The Teaching Technology Lab is available also on the second floor, and they'll be here a little bit related to Dave, but the idea that they work with is to help students with their technology needs. Perhaps we'll partner with you if you have an assignment that requires technological resources or things beyond your own capacity to provide support for students. And they're a great resource to help with that. The last thing in terms of technology, the Adaptive Technology and Accessibility Center. This is a university-based center through UITS, the University Technology Center, and they provide hardware and software for a range of needs regarding disabilities for students. Any questions at this point? I'm going to stop a few times during this just to make sure we don't zoom past anything.
So I ran across with iRubric recently that it's not available yet in Canvas. So it's just something for people to think about. If they have to use iRubric, you'll have to do some planning to figure out whether to stay on course or to transition to Canvas. You might have to use on course for that.
That's a great point. Thanks. Yeah. So if you are using a key assessment in your course, you may want to think about whether to transition fully to Canvas or not, or perhaps you'll need to depart both and begin. Any other questions? Okay, let's talk a little bit about policies and procedures. Professional alerts. Alerts on professionalism. We have a process in the Office of Teacher Education where we try and keep track of and flag and have conversations with students that it appears may not be cut out to be a teacher. You would file a professional alert not if a student is necessarily doing poorly in your class academically. Those are consequences that you institute as an instructor in terms of grades, evaluations, those types of things. But if there are other pieces of their performance, now it could be things like habitual lateness or absences, but it also could be things as severe as it's becoming clear they just don't like children. Right? If that's the case, we need to have a conversation, right? Maybe they don't work well together with others. Maybe they do not collaborate effectively or respectfully with their peers in class. Maybe they're emotionally unstable. A variety of things that raise concerns for you that may not be reflected in how you would necessarily evaluate them in a course grade, but you want to have a broader conversation. So the idea is that you will first have that broader conversation with them. It's not really fair to file an alert and to have me contact them and you've never talked with them about it, right? But what happens is it's not a punitive measure. My office will contact them after you fill out the form, and the form is actually located in your folder if you haven't seen it already. And I will probably follow up with you first, and I'll ask questions about the narrative you provide me and get any of the backstory that I need, context. But then I'll ask them to come in, and I'll have a conversation with the student. And there's no immediate consequence for that. It just puts it on our radar, lets them know that we're also aware of it, and we want them to be thinking about this and working on it. And then if we have repeated issues with the same type of behavior or issue, then we may consider making a move to suggest or even insist that they find a different one instead. Any questions about alerts?
I've got a related question. This came up last week in our CEP training. What is the minimum grade that teacher education students need to attain in each class to move on to licensure?
They need a C or better.
And that's true of both primary and secondary?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
There are a couple of exceptions with courses in the college that they're applying for, but in terms of the school of education professional coursework,
And that means that we put a C minus doesn't cut it.
That's correct. A C minus would not allow them.
So does an alert necessarily mean I think that they shouldn't be a teacher?
It does not. It means you may have questions. It means that you think they need a bit of a reality check. I'm going to have to talk with the dean about missing class, not being professional, whatever it is. So it's an opportunity for what we consider to be early stage intervention to be fair to them, to let them know, they may not fully appreciate the professional expectations. 18, 19, 20-year-olds sometimes don't have it all figured out in terms of what it means to be a teacher. And so we want to make sure we communicate that early.
So we demonstrate 100% course that they say before, many times before they become an education major.
Yes.
And so would we be using this alert, even if they haven't decided to be a education major?
Absolutely, absolutely, because that's a great time to have that conversation before they get farther down the road and committed to something and have to backtrack and do something else. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Academic misconduct. Cheating or plagiarism is usually how this takes shape. There is a form in your folder that goes through a fairly involved flowchart process here. It's Procedures at IU Bloomington. The main takeaway that you need to be aware of is if you have concerns about plagiarism or cheating, you need to have a conversation with the student. And if you conclude that plagiarism or cheating has taken place, you must report it to the Office of Student Ethics across campus. Even if it was perhaps unintentional plagiarism. And I'll tell you why. You get to decide as the instructor what the appropriate consequence is for that course. And so you may decide that perhaps if it was unintentional, that there's a fairly minor consequence, depending upon how explicit you've been about expectations or how the assignment is framed or things like that. But when you report it across campus, they will check and see if there have been any other violations reported. If there haven't, then it typically will end right there. They'll just make a note of it, and that'll be that. So you don't need to feel like you're setting them up for something that they don't deserve. But if there has been another violation, for instance, every semester they pretend they don't know what plagiarism is, right? We need to know that, and the only way we know that is if every time it gets reported across campus. So that's why that system works the way that it does. Because this university is obviously far too large for schools to track. So that's the process. And if you're ever uncertain about an appropriate consequence, certainly consult with your faculty program coordinator. Feel free to consult with me. I'm happy to talk with you about it and suggest some possibilities. But it is something that it's important, again, to set clear expectations for our students who sometimes don't have a real clear sense of that, even if they have taken the plagiarism test. Now, one of the things that I would suggest is that you require them to do this. The School of Education has a whole little online unit and test that emphasizes the key aspects of plagiarism. And again, that link is available to you on the website. Incompletes. Oh, sorry, go ahead, please.
I'm just curious, do they have further access to Turnitin?
I think so. Is that?
Because I
Maybe
tried
y'all can tell
last
me.
year and it was asking for full faculty, and we kind of checked around and
Has anyone used Turnitin? So it works for y'all?
Yeah, part of Encores.
Okay, if you have trouble with that, come see us, or if your faculty, director can't help you, then we're happy to figure it out for you. But you should be able to. Yeah, there's no reason not to.
One thing on having the meetings with students you suspect of plagiarism, I used to work in the biology department. They had a rule that you had to have an somewhat impartial observer in the room while you had that meeting, in case the student just simply denies it and it's one word against the other word. So ideally, if you have an associate instructor or an undergraduate instructor in the room, they could be there, or another colleague. And also, in some cases, students get very emotionally upset and sometimes violently upset, and so it's good to have an impartial observer. So that was our department policy.
I think that's a good point. If you have concerns about that, then those steps would be certainly reasonable. You can come talk with me or someone in the Office of Teacher Education first to sort of think about that. If it's a plagiarism case, it may not be quite as grave. You have the document. But if it's a question of cheating, something like that.
And this was cheating off of another student's.
Yeah, right. So that type of maybe more disputable gray area, that's certainly a reasonable step to consider. Incompletes. You really want to try and avoid incompletes, giving students incompletes. The reason is because it's not good for them to have these hanging over their heads. and it also creates administrative logistical challenges, in part because follow-up can be difficult. So one of the things that we emphasize if you are going to file an incomplete is there's a form for it in your folder. You can give students up to a year to remove that incomplete, but you do not have to. You can devise an agreement about how long is reasonable for them to do this. You need to be very specific about the timeline and the expectations. And the reason for that is because sometimes we'll have students come to us almost a year later and say, hey, I need to get that incomplete taken care of. Well, who was your instructor? Well, so-and-so. Well, they're not here anymore, right? And so sometimes we can't track people down. Why would they want to be bothered? They're gone. Those types of things. So leave us a roadmap and be clear as you can in terms of what is required and consult with your faculty program director as well, course coordinator for that. The other thing is, if you're teaching in a block or a cluster, you need to consult with your colleagues teaching in those other ones to consider whether or not that incomplete should affect their grade or credit in the other parts of the block or cluster. Any questions about that? Okay, and then just a reminder, all these forms are on the website, your instructor resources. Okay, FERPA, Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. The bottom line here, I would suggest that you take a look at the policy online, but the bottom line for us is that you cannot, you should not share that information about student data, performance, with anybody besides the student themselves, or in regards to consultation with our office. Their parents do not have the privilege to have that information unless the students complete a form giving them access, and we need to have that form signed by the student and on file before we can talk with parents, or before you should as well. We've obviously, that has been an issue that has been tightened up quite a bit in past years. I remember we used to post student grades on doors and stuff like that, and maybe take their name off, but if you knew how to alphabetize, it was easy, right? So those days are obviously gone, and we need to be thoughtful about how we communicate information to students about their performance. Academic Standards Committee is not something that you will probably have much interaction with. I mention it here because a lot of times you're a great informal advisor for your students. They'll tell you about a problem or an issue they're having in terms of navigating their coursework or trying to figure out how they get credit for something. The Academic Standards Committee is where they will go to appeal if they need to have a policy waived or they need to have credit for something that isn't in the policy. That happens through our office, and it's important, obviously, that they know that that resource exists. So if any questions come up on your radar, you can let them know to come see us in the office, and there's a procedure by which they can have their case heard through the Academic Standards Committee. Faculty policies and students' rights. I would like you to find the handout. See, I think it's the only stapled one. It says Indiana University policies related to faculty. I'm not going to go through this all now, but I would like you to go through it. Now, this is something we've added this year to clarify a number of expectations, both in terms of what faculties and associate instructors have in terms of responsibilities, but also what students have in terms of responsibilities. I do want to draw your attention, however, to page 2. One item. At the bottom, beginning with number 1. No amorous or sexual relationships with students over whom you have any professional responsibility, regardless of voluntary consent by student. Note, this restriction continues to be in effect as long as instructors are writing letters of recommendation or controlling access to job interviews through those letters. In other words, this restriction continues through periods of informal mentoring, as well as during formal instructor or mentoring responsibilities. If you have any uncertainty about this policy, please consult with a course coordinator, with our office. This is something, given the recent emphasis in university on sexual assault and misconduct, that we're trying to make sure that we emphasize and have real clarity about. And that these policies are followed. The safest policy is to avoid it altogether. But there are obviously ways in which harassment or power plays can happen that are not clear cut. And so if you have any concerns about that, or if you have any concerns about another situation that you're aware of, please don't hesitate to contact us. Any questions about that? There is a grievance process for students who would like to protest a grade or some situation in their class. This is not something that happens very often at all. Maybe once a semester at the most I encounter this. But there is this process that they have available to them. And if it ends up involving a class that you teach, we would certainly be in contact with you to go through a very formalized process to make sure all sides are heard in that case. But again, what I would go back to is the more you document, the easier those processes are for everybody. So certainly if you have any student contacting you, protesting certain things, you want to make sure you hold on to all that documentation and make sure that your communications are clear with that student as the process unfolds. And if you have any questions about that process, don't hesitate to let us know. Last thing, there's a sheet in your folder about emergency protocols for school education, evacuation routes. Each classroom has these posted as well. And tornado shelter rooms have signs posted outside them around the building. So you may want to take a look at that, familiarize yourself with that, particularly in relationship to where your classrooms are located. Any questions at this point? Anything that we've covered so far? Okay, I want to tell you briefly about some of the areas of our office that you may have some interactions with, or maybe will want to point your students to. Academic advising is an obvious one. And we have a great academic advising unit. If students are confused about requirements, those are the people that they should go talk to. They can make appointments at the front desk, go see an advisor any day of the week. Keep in mind that your students may or may not have already committed to the profession of teaching. So one of the things that you can do effectively in your role, in relationship with them, is to help them figure that out, particularly if they're in an early introductory class. But even as they go along, certainly our advisors are there for professional advice, but this is a role that I think that you all can play effectively as well, capitalizing on the trust and familiarity that you've built with them. But feel free to consult with our advisors as a resource in that regard as well. We also have a unit in the Office of Teacher Education focused on cultivating undergraduate community. One of the things that we're really trying to emphasize here is that coursework is obviously the heart of their preparation to become a teacher. But there are so many other things going on in this school that are tremendous resources and professional development opportunities and experiences for students that we want to do whatever we can to let them know about that. We try very hard. We send out all sorts of social media communications, emails and everything. And sometimes they hear it and sometimes they don't. So the more that you can do to let them know, when mailings come out from the Office of Teacher Education talking about seminars, panel discussions, we're going to be having different panels on classroom management, on family engagement, on education policy. Promote those in your classrooms. One of the things that you'll get an email about from me later on in the semester that is a huge emphasis for us is the Exemplary Teaching Conference. And those of you who were here last year know that this is something that I've pestered you about quite a bit. The idea of the Exemplary Teaching Conference, which happens in the spring, is that it's put on by students for students. And it's an opportunity for them to share best practices and the best work that they come up with in the classroom. What it relies on is instructors nominating those students to present and letting us know. When I send out the call for nominations, all you got to do is let us know this is the student, this is the assignment, and we follow up from there. And it's a great opportunity for them to get some professional development experience presenting in front of their peers. And it's a great way to cultivate a sense of professional community and growth in the school. The other thing you can do in regards to that, besides nominating students, is, and I'll remind you this when I send out the email later in the fall, is if you're teaching in the spring, think about weaving that into your syllabus requirements, attending that conference. It's certainly legitimate for that to replace some other instructional requirements for the students if you think it's appropriate. And the reports that we got back from last year is that students found it to be a really useful experience for them, whether they presented or attended. And that conference, Exemplary Teaching Conference, is run through our undergraduate community unit in the Office of Teacher Education. The Office of Clinical Experiences combines both early field experiences, and you're going to hear briefly from Tina Honeycutt, our Director of Early Field Experiences, shortly, but early field experiences all the way through student teaching. We're trying to think about field experiences, clinical experiences as a continuum rather than something that's distinct according to sequence of the program. What we want to do is we want to try and help you think about, particularly if you're teaching a course that is associated with a field experience, or your students happen to be in other field experiences while they're taking your course in a particular semester. How can those resonate? How can those interweave? How can they have opportunities to enact the practices that you help prepare them for in those field experiences? How can the students get a better sense of how what they're doing in these classrooms makes a difference for the P-12 classrooms that they have their field experiences in? One of the things that we hear consistently from the undergraduates is that they sometimes don't see those connections. So the more that you can make those explicit and provide opportunities for those to be enacted, I think the better experience that our students will have as they prepare to become teachers. The Office of Career Connections is also something that is very pertinent to our undergraduates as they prepare to become teachers. We have all sorts of opportunities and resources for them. We give them help with resumes, job postings, reference storage and distribution, trainings such as suicide prevention, CPR. All those things run through our office, and it's important for students to know that those resources are there. So if you hear questions come up, send them down there. We're happy to work with them. Keep an eye out for the different trainings that Career Connections provides, different resources, and let your students know about those as well. The last department down there that I wanted to mention briefly is records and licensing. There are new testing requirements for licensure that went into effect last year. There are 3 tests now. There is the Core Academic Skills Assessment, sometimes called CASA. There are the Content Area Tests, and then there is a brand new one called the Developmental Area Assessment. Oftentimes we call it the Pedagogy Test. These are all tests that students need to pass at various points throughout their time here before they can get their license. So this is something that you probably want to be aware of if questions come up. Again, anything related to licensing, related to requirements for the program, send them to our office. It's important that our students hear directly from our advisors, from our licensing officer, as opposed to hearing secondhand through the college or contacting the State Department of Education. Things are in such flux, the State Department of Education, that it's very difficult to get a consistent answer sometimes. And it's helpful for us to sort of be the intermediary and to make sure that all the correct information is being given to our students. So encourage them, again, to come down and see us. Okay, I wanted to just tell you briefly about some other groups in the Office of Teacher Education, School Education. Armstrong Teacher Educators, if you don't know about them, this is a great program. It's run by Pete Klusterman. This year we have 9 fantastic P-12 teachers from around the state of Indiana who come here on a periodic basis. They're available to work with your classes. They also do panels throughout the year. That the 2 dates are here, September 26th and November 7th for the fall. Those students... Yep, 26th and November 7th. Yeah. So these are great panels, opportunities for students to come and hear from practicing classroom teachers about issues such as, I think September 26th is dealing with the first days of class. We've had panels on classroom management, using technology, all sorts of things. You also can consider offering credit for students, certainly not expected, but if it makes sense within the context of your course for students to attend, we do take attendance there so you can verify that. If you would like to have one of the Armstrong teachers come into your classroom to talk about something, contact Pete Klusterman about that. There's also the website, the link is there for the Armstrong teacher educators with a full bio for each teacher so that you can get a sense as to what they might have to offer your particular class. Another great resource are the Jacobs teachers. And Tom Rush in IST is the faculty member responsible for overseeing that. Jacobs folks are experts using technology. They're also practicing P12 teachers who have particular insight and experience working with technology, and they are also available to come and visit. And they will also be doing some different speaking engagements during the year. Another thing I just want to put on your radar, if you're not aware, we have a direct admit scholars program. So you may hear some students talk about being a direct admit. We have 116 freshmen this year, which is our largest class by far. It's become a very successful program, a great recruitment tool, and the students who are direct admit scholars have exceptional academic records coming in. And they've also demonstrated a real desire and passion to become a teacher. So it's a great way for us to build immediately a strong core of entering freshmen and to provide them with encouragement and resources to continue along that path. So this is something that is just good to have on your radar as a program. I want to just briefly touch on 3 initiatives for this year, and all 3 of these are actually continuations of work that we've been doing over the past year. The first is what we are calling IUTPA, the IU Teacher Performance Assessment. And it is essentially a hybrid of a national assessment called EdTPA, which was developed out of Stanford University. And the idea behind the teacher performance assessment, regardless of what it's called, is that we want to develop a means by which we can evaluate whether our teacher candidates can do in the classroom, the P12 classroom, what we thought we taught them how to do in these classrooms. So you notice I mentioned the pedagogy test earlier. There's something fundamentally problematic from my perspective about a fill-in-the-blank bubble test to see if you are a good teacher. There's something far more compelling about a performance assessment where our candidates during student teaching are compiling planning documents, instructional video of their work, and assessment of student learning, and compiling that into a comprehensive analysis as their assessment. It's not all there is about teaching, but it is certainly part of the heart of teaching. And it's something that we're piloting, and we will continue to work on weaving into our student teaching requirements over the next few years in some form or another. What is important about it for you all is that you may hear about it, but also it would be useful to think about ways in which you can start to, and we're encouraging faculty to do this as well, so you may hear about it from them, weave in the types of assignments that are in the performance assessment, the types of activities in your classwork earlier on. What we want is when our students get to student teaching, the assessment itself looks familiar. The types of things that we're asking them to do, they say, oh yeah, I did this in this class, or this class, or this class. So they don't have to learn the assessment. All they need to do is to demonstrate that they're ready to be a teacher. So that's one of the initiatives that we're working on. Another one that you may have heard of, and you certainly will hear of, is what we call collaborative student teaching. We have found over the last couple of years that school districts are increasingly reluctant to place our students in their classrooms. They're under enormous pressure for testing and various forms of accountability, quote unquote. And they are concerned about basically having our students step into the role of teacher and having their teachers lead. And it's understandable that this is an issue. What we have devised, in part in response to that, but in part because we actually think it's a better model for field experiences, is more of a collaborative type of arrangement between our teacher candidates and the teachers in the K-12, P-12 classroom. Much more of a working on a collaborative set of communications and planning, but also then perhaps being in the classroom oftentimes together, working in tandem through a variety of techniques and models. In student teaching, there's still opportunities for our candidates to be in the classroom alone and to have that solo teaching experience as well, but it's much more a partnership rather than the cooperating teacher handing over the keys and saying, see you in 8 or 10 or 12 weeks. Because that just doesn't work very well. And so we think it's actually a better model. It certainly makes our participating school districts feel a lot more comfortable about partnering with us and trusting their students to our candidates. The last thing that may be on your radar, the Inspire Living Learning Center. The now one-year-old Rose Residence Hall, just around the corner here, is for the first time housing an entire wing of our students. The Inspire Living Learning Center, devoted towards students who may not necessarily be in the school of education. Most of them are, but they have expressed a real passion for education, typically for teaching, but it could be a variety of ways of engaging with the education field. The idea is to give them a community, to give them a set of experiences and resources that will help them to continue to stay invested in the work of becoming an educator and feel connected to the School of Education and connected to the faculty and what's going on. So you hear more about this certainly over the coming weeks, but just wanted to let you know that that is something that we're really excited about, and we're starting off this year with the first class. Last thing I want to tell you, if you can even do it while you sit here, subscribe to our Twitter feed. Encourage your students to subscribe to our Twitter feed, and whatever you do for Facebook, I don't do Facebook, so I don't know, but there's someone, right? So these are communication tools that we have besides email, because we have recognized that students are not always that good about keeping on top of their email. So we want to try as many different ways as we can to let them know what's going on, and also ways that they can communicate with us. So please encourage your students to get connected, and it's a great way for you to know what's going on as well. Last thing I want to draw your attention to, Student Intervention Training Workshop. Everyone, all AIs must attend this. If you did it last year, you can attend the Repeaters Workshop on Thursday, but otherwise you need to attend one on either today, this evening, or on Friday. Hopefully you signed up for that already in order for your departments. If you have any questions about that, you can let me know. Yes?
Where is that?
Where is the training?
I never been able to find the location.
It doesn't say on the website where you sign in.
It might, and I missed it, but I looked pretty hard.
Anyone else know?
I think we're in room 1225.
1225, so that would be down the hallway there. Thank you. Any other questions about anything so far for this whole presentation?
Two things. First,
Yeah.
maybe you send out the information on the suicide prevention training, because we were originally told that if we had already taken it, we didn't have to do it again, so I believe all of the emails.
Sure. Okay. We'll have the department secretary do that right away.
And second, the IDPA, is there any way we can get sort of guidelines for what's going on in that, so you can get that information?
Yes, I will send out a link. What do you think is the best way to do that?
Just send out my email.
Okay.
I'll follow up with whoever's interested in
Okay.
information.
Gina Weir is coordinating our IUTPA efforts, our teacher performance assessments, and I'll send out her contact information, and then if you'd like more information about it, she can send you whatever you need. Anything else?
I have a question. Do those courses fulfill the requirement for the local public schools and CCSE?
I'm sorry,
The suicide prevention classes, it's required if you're mentoring and teaching in CCSE, you want those classes fulfill their requirement?
I'm not sure I understand it. All our students have to do suicide prevention for their licensure, and all the AIs have to do it as per school education requirements. So yeah, it doesn't matter if it's NCCSE or not.
I know if you can't make the ones here at Indiana University, the Department of Education has a list of organizations in Central Indiana that offer the suicide training that they're counting for undergrads, so it's IU would accept that.
We do accept some alternatives. The person to contact, and her information may be on the sign-up sheet online, but it's Lynn Gilman. She's the one who coordinates the suicide prevention training, and she can tell you whether or not a different online opportunity or training is acceptable. We certainly want to be as flexible as possible about that, if there are other options that will work better for you. Anything else? Okay, well, thank you very much for your attention. I will turn it over to Tina Honeycutt, who is our Director of Early Field Experience, to talk for just a few minutes about clinical experiences, and then we'll move along on the agenda after that.
All right, we'll see if I can project. I really hate microphones, so if we can get by without it, we'll go with that. As Rob mentioned, I'm Tina Honeycutt. I am the Director of Early Field Experiences, and I have been in this position for about 10 years. Prior to that, I was a special education teacher for 10 years. The big thing is I was listening to Rob and thinking, okay, this was what I was going to say. It kind of shifted a little as I listened to Rob. The big thing I want to say is that for those of you especially working with students that are in early field experiences out in the schools or who are student teaching, because I know some of you are also supervising student teachers, to remember that our students that are becoming teachers are sometimes some of the hardest to teach at first, because we all go through that time when we're extremely critical of every teaching experience we see. And so part of your role in that is to help them have professional conversations with you about professional teaching, because they will challenge you on your teaching, and to have conversations with them about how to interpret what they're seeing in the classrooms and helping them look at it not only from their current critical position, but also helping them remember, oh yes, this is the time you learn that teachers are people too, and that they make mistakes, and that how they respond to those mistakes is really what's crucial, and how that's what we're here to teach you, is how you respond to mistakes you make in the classroom so that you don't get into a power struggle with students. And helping them see that from both sides. So our office helps students with those situations, and we help you guys with those situations. So do not hesitate to come to us and say, wow, I have this student that I'm really struggling to help really develop as a teacher. Prior to filing an alert, if you want to talk through that process with someone, don't hesitate to come to our office. We're right down the hall. I'm happy to make appointments with anyone. It's about to get really busy for all of us. You're all probably feeling that, oh my gosh, how am I going to get all of this done by next week and get this started? We're feeling that too, but don't hesitate to come down and schedule an appointment and talk through any situation you encounter. If you hear something about something going on in a school that you're concerned about, that's what we're here to talk through with you. If you have a field experience that you want to talk about, come and see us. That's the big thing that I want everyone to get from this, is that that's what we're there for, is to talk through. Communication is key in teaching, reading your students and what's going on with them, helping them do the same. So that's what we're here for. Are there any other questions? If you're going out into schools to supervise early field experiences, I will say this here. Emails go out, lots of emails go out, but you do have to have a current criminal history check through HR here in the School of Ed if you're supervising early field experiences. That goes through your department. But if you're having trouble figuring that out, feel free to email me, and I'll help get you in touch with the right person and get that done.
How often do we have to have that updated?
5 years. The policy just changed, it's now 5 years. So if you've had one within the past 5 years, you're fine. Other questions, comments, anything those of you who are returning want to tell others about clinical experiences or about the Office of Teacher Ed? All right.
Thanks, Ken. Let's see, we have now Connie. Is Linda coming too? Okay. Connie Freese-Posthum is going to speak with us for a minute. She's from the Dean's Office upstairs about a great resource we have, visiting scholars.
Hopefully you can hear me. I coordinate the Visiting Scholar Program for the School of Education. We have about 30 people who are going to be coming and going over the course of the fall semester at least. Mostly from China for some reason this semester, but we also have a few people from Saudi Arabia and Turkey. And then we have a special program through CEDAR, one of our centers, that is bringing in 11 people from Finland, India, Morocco, New Zealand, and Singapore, who are, because the scholars I work with are professors here to do research, but these are primary and secondary teachers in their own countries. So these people are all a great resource that we kind of don't use as well as we could. They're all willing to come speak to your classrooms, and not just about their subject areas, but maybe about education in their country or just life in their country, so your students get some different perspectives. So I will send out in a few days to the department secretaries a list of the current scholars, or you can check with me in the dean's office. But these are great people, and it helps to make them part of our community too, because they're all really willing to help, and they're all teachers, so they all want to be part of the school. And just remember that when you're thinking of extra things you can add to your lesson plans and stuff. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Any questions? Okay, thanks. Karen Hallerupp's here to talk with us about the Office of Instructional Consulting. She's got a crew with her.
Hi, everybody. I'm Karen Hallerupp. I am the director of the Office of Instructional Consulting, and we are the folks to really support you in all of your teaching endeavors. Kind of resonated with a couple things that Tina said. The first one is that everybody makes mistakes teaching, but we're here to make sure that that's as little as possible. So, we want to start out with as few as possible and then be able to learn from the very few ones that we make. And the second one is that everybody is busy this week, and we certainly are as well. We know you are, but we are here to help you in whatever you need help with your teaching. If you are ready, you're one of the very few. Is anybody ready? Okay, well, we're all in this together then, right? I wanted to, at some point, the staff here will filter down and I'll introduce them. They're always running around doing something. As I said, we're all busy this week. But I wanted to give you a little bit of a sense of some of the kinds of things that we do. And basically support for teaching and learning for both associate instructors and faculty. So anything that has to do with your classes, we can help you with. The big thing this year is Canvas. The university has told us we are going to phase out Encores. We are going to start using Canvas. Some of you will still be using Encores. Some of you will want to move over to Canvas. We've got a 2-year window, so I suggest that you're going to be teaching a class for a couple years. Maybe it's a little bit enthusiastic to think that you're going to change that over now, but if you have started, we've got all the resources to help you with that, so come on in. We'll pull your course up and help you with that one-on-one, and we're open all week to do that. Or over the course of this semester, once you get your teaching legs on and you're feeling pretty confident, why don't you come in and we'll start moving that course over to Canvas for you when it's a more pleasant experience and maybe a more thoughtful one. So we actually work with folks with face-to-face teaching, traditional teaching, with online teaching, and with blended teaching. And there's a lot more blended teaching going on and a lot more online teaching going on than, say, was 5 years ago. So we've got the resources to help you with that. Course design and development and execution. We of course have a group that is well trained in instructional design, a face-to-face class in instructional design for an online class, for example. And we also, because we work with a number of faculty in the building, we know some of the things that they have actually experimented with that work, and some things that don't. So there they are. I knew they'd never let me down. This is a great group. So I want to introduce them in no particular order because I think they're not. But standing next to me is Ken Guan, and he is a doctoral student in higher education program, and he has a background in learning analytics. And then Matt Callison, who is a doctoral student in instructional systems technology. Matt has had a lot of experience with our production studio and also with Canvas. And he's also taught. We have Dong-Gil Song, and he's a doctoral student with instructional systems technology. And Dong-Gil's been with our office for a year now, so he's pretty much an expert in everything. So, and then there is Thomas Edelberg, who is a doctoral student in instructional systems technology. Tom has a background as a tech director for public schools in California, and so he has a lot of experience already with ed tech and design for technology. And last, and maybe least in stature, but definitely not least in presence, is Minka Kim, who is also has been with us a year and therefore is an expert in everything, both inside the office and out. I mean, she is. So go to anyway, at any time in our office, you'll see one or two of these friendly faces. And we call our office the fishbowl because of all that glass there, and that's there to encourage you to come in. So we do encourage walk-in, but we like appointments because then we can actually prepare for them. So, next slide. We also, I can get back to this, we also help with, if you're thinking about trying something new in your course that, you know, you've seen some technology you think might work for that, we can help you with that. We do teaching observations, and I want to explain what those are. Most of you, well, I think all of you as AIs will have supervising faculty. And it's very important that they observe your teaching because they are not only experts in higher ed teaching, but they're also very well educated in the content. We don't claim to know the content, although I have to say in our positions we get to learn a whole lot about everything that's going on in the school, and I feel like it's great, but we can help you with technique. So if you know, or we can help you with some kind of classroom situation if you're having interactions with students or something that you're having trouble figuring out strategies, we can help you with those sorts of things. So we will go in, and what we will do is we generally, even if you teach at night, we'll arrange to set up a camera, and then we'll have a video that we can both look. And I think it's very important, even if you, you know, it's important to get your feedback from your supervising faculty member, but it's also good to see yourself teaching. So I think this is a good plan. We have a website which has a blog and a podcast, and so we talk about some of the new technologies, and we have a lot of resources. And we're going to get ready to pass out a little flyer that will, why don't you go ahead and we'll give you websites that you can go and find these. And last but not least, we now have the new technology sandbox where it's like monkey see, monkey want. We read about something, you know, in the education news, some new technology, and so we have Google Glass. We have, you know, we're one of the developers for Google Glass, and so, you know, we have a lot of things that you can come in and look at. Also, on here, there are other And it makes it easier because if you start to try to locate these things yourself, sometimes we're working at cross purposes. And these are our colleagues, and we like to work with them, so we do work collaboratively. And last but not least, the Canvas Open House this week. We used to try to give workshops, but we know that you're very, very busy, and different departments have different events, and it was really hard to find a time when we could actually have open when anybody could come in. And we've also found from feedback that people really like to come in one-on-one and get their problem solved like this, just in time. So that's what we do, and we'll be here. There will be somebody here in our office upstairs. I think. Most of you know where that is? It's on the second floor, on the atrium or the balcony level, glass front office, right where the food is. You know, we've got the best location in the building. Actually, we always know if there's any food out there. And we'll be here from 9 to 5, and please come in, and whether it's Canvas or iRubric or whatever it is you're thinking about using, we can help you with it. So I think that's it. Hope to see you. And any questions? Okay, well, remember these faces.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, this is Justin here. Okay.
Do you want us to send somebody to get it?
Yeah, that's all right. What we'll do is we're running a little bit ahead of schedule, so we will take our break now and then come back in about 10 minutes, and we'll pick up where we ETS at that point.
One of the speakers said, do you all have your classes ready? And nobody did. I was like, I thought you do that.
Are you staying all day?
No, I think
Showing off
everything gets out. I would love to hang out with y'all. Yeah, all right, man. I'll see you
I'm not saying that.
I remember your son was doing flag football, right? Okay. All her? Herself, 5 goals?
We're a team that like this weekend, this is actually how funny it is. Previous week she was great. First game that she was off. She was on the call.
Yeah.
So I said, well, you and Daddy don't go to practice all day.
Oh, really?
You know, I said, honey, you will practice that?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, like you get a group of people together, everyone can make sure you just go in and do it, and then they have to do it all by themselves.
Are you thinking this year? Fall? No. Oh, okay. Yeah, for sure. Stay on track. Don't need to prolong this any longer than we need to. I kind of felt, when I told people back home, I feel like I was in a job, like I was at my job. So that's how I thought. I was like, I'm at my job, I don't need to worry about where I'm living, you know, and I just think about, this is my job, at the end of the day, I'm going to go back to California.
But I like the opportunity to have here, open.
You can tell. I didn't have that.
It's like a trophy. It's a lot.
Yeah, think about like almost 20 pounds. Yeah.
Are you even helping move? I remember you saying you got a new place, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, she's getting it down. So, globally? Like, what do you mean globally? Where at?
Here in the United States, Caribbean.
Okay.
But right now, our storage.
Okay, because I know last time we talked, you said you put down a deposit somewhere.
I was about to.
Oh, okay, but you didn't do it.
About to. Well, I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
That was part of money. So I said, I'm not going to put on.
Yeah.
In this room,
Yeah.
like you say, yeah, this is my job.
You know what's funny is we just switched to talking about money. We just switched to no contact area to just lower our cell phone bill even more. Save it where we can. You know what I mean? Well, that's okay. So you got that. That's good. That's a good setup there. Okay. You got so you don't need help with anything. You got it all. People help you with some storage. Okay, that's good. Because I remember that going in there.
I'll go.
What about you? How was your day? Well, I remember you and I talking about some of the struggles in the class and that. Yeah, culture. How do you feel about this? That's how I take it. I mean, I talk about this a lot. It's like, for me, we got the CHD.
So, if nothing else,
Well, I heard that such about it that there's a lot of on-call and not necessarily a lot of clients. So you spend a lot of your time there, but not necessarily seeing clients. Yeah. And for somebody like me, who really commit hours, could be out of class. You were trying to take, I thought you were trying to take staff classes. Okay. But you were put on full-time grade. Okay. Yeah. Because I remember because originally I was supposed to and then because obviously we're moving along, and then I'm like, already here. It seems like just yesterday we were here. Yeah, that's what is it? One thing I said I want to be competitive with the hours. It's like I want to shift away from focusing so much on course. More of my effort into the
ETS, Education Technology Services, here in the School of Education. Nice.
Okay, welcome. Thank you all for coming. As Dr. Cummins said, my name is Justin Luce. I manage the contact center, which is your IT help desk here at the School of Education. I also serve as the webmaster for the School of Education's website. Here to talk to you for a few minutes today about the technology you will encounter here in the Wendell W. Wright building. So the contact center itself is located in room 2040. You can also call us at 856-8400, or if you're just in the building using one of our phones, you can just call 68400. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We're closed on holidays, but otherwise we're open throughout the year. Email us at ats@indiana.edu as well. Just real briefly, so we use basically a task system. So if you guys call us or email us, we're going to enter your request into a SharePoint list, and it is going to send you an automatic confirmation that we've done so. We put you in the queue. We have 3 full-time technology support technicians that work for us, and they work the tasks in order. We try to close everything within the day. Sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes that can't work because of purchasing or whatever else may get in the way of completing that request. But you can track the status of your request. When you get that confirmation email, there'll be a link in the email. You can click that link and just follow along with the task. We keep it up to date when it gets assigned or if any updates happen, we update that task. And then you'll get an automated message when that task is marked as completed as well. So you'll know when we think we know that we've completed your task. And if there's a problem with any of that, you just reply to the task or again contact us and we'll get you taken care of. So depending on the department that you work for, you may or may not have a computer assigned to you. You may be sharing what they call carols, cubicles around here. And some departments, every department does it a little bit differently. But if you find if there's a computer in your area, odds are it's going to be a Dell desktop with a 19-inch flat-panel monitor running Windows 7. This just has our standard build of software on it. Includes things like Microsoft Office, the Adobe Suite, various other software applications that we find you all will likely need. If there's anything additional that you need on your computer, you'll have to go work through your department's administrative assistant, and they will contact ETS and we'll get software installed on your machine if needed. One thing to note, and you'll get kind of warned anytime you log into the computer, but you should never save anything locally to that computer. There's various reasons for that, but basically you're going to risk losing it if you store it there. So don't count on your data being stored, maintained locally. If you need to store data, you're going to have. Let's see if I had a couple of pages. Your department will also give you access to the file server. So we have things we call the G drive and the O drive. We just call them that because we automatically map those drives to your machine if you use the letters G and O to do it. At your department, your administrative assistant will probably has told you about this already, but each department and group has a space on the G drive, and they've probably given or asked for you to have access to their space. That's where you can store stuff. The G drive is backed up nightly, so things won't disappear from there. If you don't have access and you need access to it, work through your administrative assistant. If you've been given access and you can't figure out how to get to it, contact ETS and we'll help you out. There's also the thing called the O drive. We picked O because it's open, is the idea there. Each of you, again, if your department has requested it, you will have your very own folder in the O drive, and that folder is shared with everybody else that has access to the O drive. So if you need to share a file with a School of Education colleague, you put it in the O drive and they can get it there. They can't put things in your folder, but they can access your folder and vice versa. There's also many other storage options on campus, and I'm not too familiar with the central IU systems in that regard because we don't use them, but there's something called the Massive Data Storage Service. There's also like a research file system if you're doing research work that you can use and you can store data there. Same principles apply. It's going to be backed up and safe and secure. So that's file storage. Don't store stuff locally. Back up. So again, depending on your department, you may or may not have a phone available to you. If you have a phone, it's going to be a voice over IP phone. That means you're going to need the building needs to have power and network connectivity for it to work. It will happen probably sometime this year where the network will go down for a few minutes. In that event, your phone will die. When the power comes back on, hopefully your phone comes back on with it. If not, ETS starts to spam around the building and resetting phones. You likely will not have voicemail If that's something that's a necessity for you, just work with your administrative assistant and get taken care of. But the VoIP phones are there for you to use. I believe long distance is covered now. I'm sure that doesn't mean they want you to go wild with long distance phone calls, but you can place phone calls on the VoIP phone itself. It'll tell you what the number is for that phone. So if you need to receive calls, you can call in. Anybody who happens to be around can answer that. You know, voicemail's not much of an option for you. Printing. We have, I believe, 16 MFPs. These are multi-function printers throughout the building. These are HP 4345 MFPs. Big units. Again, your department has already probably asked for you to have access to be able to print. And the print driver should be installed on all of your machines already. It's probably mapped to whatever printer is nearest to your computer's location. When you print, it'll automatically go to this job storage function. We did that a few years ago because we noticed that there were a ton of unclaimed print jobs that were flying through this building. And to reduce the waste of paper and hopefully save some trees, we've set it up so that everything just goes to job storage. So that means you send a bunch of jobs to the printer, right? Then you have to go to the printer, touch the screen, log in with the copy code that your department has assigned to you. It should be a 4-digit numeric code, and then you can release those jobs. The printer works very fast. It can duplex as well. It can staple. It can collate. All that fun stuff, and the black and white though. So even if you're printing, a bunch of pages, it should happen really fast. A bunch of different jobs. We ask that you don't print. If you're printing stuff for classes and you're making like more than 100 copies of something, then we should really send those to our copy room. We've got the mail and duplicating center, I think is what it's called. It's here on the first floor, just down the 1200 wing. 1235, I think is. So the guy, Doug Butler in there, can make all kinds of copies for you. And so if you're doing big copy jobs, work with done. If you're doing less than 100 pages, you can use the MFPs. They will copy, again, using that 4-digit code that your department has assigned to you. If you haven't been assigned one, talk to your administrative assistant, they'll get that taken care of for you. And then you can use your 4-digit code to make copies. I think one of the neatest functions it has maybe is to scan the PDF as well. So you can take any document on one page, double-sided pages, multi-pages, stick it in the copier, and then put in your email address, and it'll scan and create a PDF for you. Send that right to your email. It used to be that you could only do that to an @indiana.edu address, but now you can scan and send it to any address. It'll always come from ETS@indiana.edu, so make sure you don't block our emails. And look for it from ETS. We do that so you can't spoof other people's email addresses. We don't want people scanning things and acting like their documents and everything like that. So that's kind of the printers in the building. There's also, of course, we've got a few Student Technology Center computer labs in here in the building. They are being upgraded, I believe, with all the new color printers. I think that's happening this semester. So room 2011, for example, is a room you can go into and make at least soon, if not already, you'll be able to make color print jobs. And that just comes from your student print board. And of course, copying, I'm sure scanning as well. We talked about the file server already. So in the classroom, so you all, I believe, will be teaching in one of the classrooms here in the School of Education. So we essentially have two types of classrooms. There's a couple of exceptions, and I won't get into them today, but basically we have the classrooms that ETS maintains and manages, and then we have the classrooms that Instructional Support Services, or whatever they're called, the campus group, maintains. The big difference there is when you go into the ISS room, so that'll be like any of the classrooms here in the 1200 wing of the building, for example, would be an ISS room. many of the other ones than the ETS. So what will happen when you go into an ISS room, you'll see a touch screen similar to kind of what's up here, although this is a fancy, complicated room that you probably won't encounter. But basically, you come with the touch screen, the monitor is going to be blank. So we get a lot of calls at the end of the year that the computer doesn't work. You can be typing on the keyboard and nothing's going to happen. You need to touch the touch screen first. So you'll touch the touch screen, and then everything will come to life. Then you can log into the computer like you would at any other computer on campus, and you'll use the touch screen to turn. It'll ask you if you want to turn the projector on. You probably want to do that, and it takes about a minute or so to get the bulb warm and fired up. So plan accordingly. Before you come into a class to teach, you're not going to be able to rock and roll right the moment you walk in the door. So you'll turn the touch screen. So you'll turn the projector on through the touch screen, and the touch screen will allow you to change the sources. So every room has a desktop PC in there. So most of you are going to be using your desktop PC, showing files, showing the internet, showing files on the thumb drive you might bring. All the classrooms also have document cameras, kind of like this. So if you had a piece of paper that a printout that you wanted to show through the projector, you'll choose document camera or camera, and throw it under the document camera, and everybody will be able to see it. Many of the rooms, if not, almost all of the rooms have Apple TVs now too. And some rooms also have smart boards. And I think instructional consulting is just here talking to you all. That's the group that you'll want to talk to if you want to know about how to use the Apple TVs and smart boards effectively in your classrooms. They'll also, all of the rooms will have connections for your laptop. So they're going to have somewhere on the lectern, you're going to see something kind of like this, and this will be your VGA connection. Most of your laptops will have a VGA, which is a little like, usually a blue colored input on the back of your side of your computer. You'll plug this in. It'll have, this will go in your 3.5mm headphone jack for sound. And it will also have a network cable. Usually, I don't see a network cable up here. You probably just use wireless. Wireless, of course, is available throughout the room, throughout the building. You can plug these in and choose laptop, and then you can choose you can use your laptop instead of using the desktop PC in the classrooms. If you have a Mac computer, you'll need to have usually either a mini DV or HDMI to VGA converter. And we don't, ETS doesn't have those to supply for you all. They're about 10 or 15 bucks. You can get them at the campus computer connection, student union. You can also, of course, order them online. But you'll need that little connector if you want to show, use your Mac in class. So the ETS rooms, the difference with those, about half the rooms in the building are ETS rooms, they won't have a touch screen. What they use is this software called Convay, C-O-N-V-A. And so in those rooms, you'll go in and you actually will touch the computer, and you'll log into the computer. And once you log into the computer, it'll fire up the Convay software, and you'll use the Convay software through the desktop to control your sources. So you'll have the same source inputs, your document camera, your desktop PC, your laptop, if you so choose. And then in those rooms, you'll have to use your desktop PC, even if you're trying to just work on your laptop. You'll use the desktop to at least control the input sources. All right. In both of those rooms, so when you come in, odds are the last person will have logged off. Hopefully they'll have logged off, and the projector will be shut down. And hopefully you'll do the same when you leave the class. So there's a slight difference in the ISS rooms, or the rooms with the touch screens. You'll want to shut down the projector using the touch screen here, shut down the projector, and then you'll log off the computer. If you do it backwards, it kind of screws things up. So you'll shut down the projector and log off the computer. In the ETS rooms with the Convay system, you can just log off the computer, and it'll shut everything down for you. So again, every classroom in here has got a computer. All of those computers are running what we call the STC build, the Student Technology Center build. It's the same suite of software that's available in any lab or library computer on campus. They've all got LCD projectors around the ceiling. They use the speaker system. They all have document cameras. Some rooms have smart boards, and almost all rooms have Apple TVs. And again, to use the smart board or Apple TV, if you guys aren't familiar with that technology, just talk with instructional consulting, and they will get you.
Is there, when you're in a room and you see Apple, will you only see the Apple TV for that one room? Or do you know what I'm saying?
That's a great question. I would think you'd see them all.
Yeah.
And they're named with the room numbers.
Okay, that's what that was.
Yeah, good question. So again, we also have essentially 3 computer labs. IST students kind of have another IST lab that's down in the 2200 range. It's kind of all to their own. But for the rest of us, we have 3 labs. 2011 is, so again, the 2000 wing is sort of the north side of the building on the second floor. 2011 is for individual use only. So there's about 36 computers in there. They've actually got 3 kinds of computers now. They've got Mac computers, they've got traditional desktop computers, and then they've got these hidden clients that use the IU Anywhere software service to run. There's 3 kinds of computers in there. There's printing, there's copying as well. And there usually is an STC consultant stationed in 2011. So if you guys have any problems in that room, you can usually talk to that person. 2025 is just down the hall a little bit. It's something that gets reserved for classroom use only, so you don't just go in there and do individual work. You reserve that through the STC reservation system. It's probably booked for the semester already. So if you're going to want to use it in the spring for your classes, think about that now. I don't know if you can reserve for the spring now, but you might check that now if that's something you participate in. And then 2015 is the room that does ETS supports, and that's reserved for the intranet, which your administrative assistant should have gotten access for as well. And so we reserve that for the intranet. That's again for class work. So, and the technology in those rooms are essentially the same as anything you apply in the classrooms. You want to reserve all of those as early as you can, and please only do it for classes when you actually need it. Don't reserve a resource that you're not going to use, and then your colleagues will be able to use it. And then on top of that technology, we also have mobile labs. So these are again reserved through the School of Education intranet. And we have 3 different mobile labs that we can deliver to your classroom for you, and you will pick up from your classroom when you're done. Those consist of, one of them consists of 12 Dell netbooks, the other one's 20 Dell netbooks, and the third one is 20 iPads. Again, reserve those early and only for days you need it. ETS will deliver and pick up. If for some reason they're not there when you show up to class, or if any other technology is not working in the classroom, when you get there, every classroom has a phone in it. And the phones, you can just pick up the phone, call 68400, and you'll get ETS, and they'll dispatch someone to the classroom right then. The thing to note about the iPads, we centrally manage those iPads, so they have a collection of apps that people have requested. If you need additional apps, you'll just send an email to ETS, request the apps, and if it's free, great. But the next week we'll have the apps installed for you and ready to use. If they need to be purchased, that might take some additional time, and we'll work through from your department. So if you know that it's a paid app, you might start with your department first, just to make sure that they're going to be okay with them making that purchase at your request. And then when they send us an account number, we can purchase the apps and install the apps for you. So that's pretty much all I have for you today, but I am here if you have any questions. So are there any questions about the technology? Yep.
What if your class meets after 5 p.m.? Can you still get access to the laptop?
We'll still deliver. Yep, good question. We'll still deliver it for you. And typically, what we ask you to do is is at the end of your class. You would roll it back to like a faculty that you work with, and roll it into their office, and then we'll go pick it up in that office in the morning. Yeah, good question. Good.
Do we access the computer on desk with our regular ID and password?
Yep, the same username and password you use to get your email, OneStart, on course, things like that. Yeah. So again, my name's Justin. I'm up in the second floor. I'm in room 2058, so you can come find me. I'm usually around. Otherwise, the contact center is down the hall, 2040. I'm in for Friday 8 to 5. Just come to us, and we'll get you taken care of when you come to meet. Thanks, and have a great semester.
Jumps in here. We now have a presentation on the Teaching Technology Lab, and Yahweh, who is a young student in ISD, will be telling us a little bit about that. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yahweh. I'm currently working in the Teaching Tech Lab on the second floor, and I'm here to give you a very brief introduction what is TTL and what students or you can get from the TTL. So on this slide, you will be able to see where the TTL located is on the second floor, 2010. And we have a phone, so you can call it anytime. And we have an email. And if you like, you can scan the QR code to access our website. So our opening hours is Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. On Friday, we only opened after our regular meeting is 11:30 to 4 p.m.
Do those hours start next week or this week or next week? Are you guys open at all this week?
No. So basically, TTL is not a typical computer lab that you see around the campus. It's more like a teaching and instructional design lab. And this lab exists primarily to serve the student who is taking a course called W200 using computers in classroom. So the biggest difference between this lab and the rest of the lab is there's usually two TTL staffs working in the lab. So they can assist your students immediately if they have any problems related to using technology. So for example, if during the semester you assign your students a final project like creating a video, and they need help for editing video and they have problems, they can just go to the TTL, stop by and ask the staff there to help them do this kind of projects. So I would say the IC office or the ETS is more for serving AIs, but TTL is more serving students. So oftentimes, as I mentioned before, there will be two TTL staff in the lab. They maintain, update computers, softwares, hardwares, and they assist the students with any problems they have in terms of using technology. And sometimes during the semester, TTL staff will hold different kinds of workshops to assist students to learn more skills in terms of using technology. For example, last year we have a smart board workshop to help students learn how to use smart board in the classroom. And of course, this kind of workshop is open to the AIs as well. So if you are interested in attending this kind of workshop, just stop by the TTL Academy to see if there's a poster mentioning about this kind of workshop. And in terms of the equipment that we have, that students can borrow from the TTL, we have iPads, we have Scribble, smart boards, smart response systems, digital camera, related equipment, tripods, that sort of thing. These equipments are mainly borrowed by the W200 students, but if your students wanted to borrow it, you probably need to ask your students to contact the TTL staff directly to see if the tools is available to borrow. And in sum, so if you are interested in using technology in your classroom or your students are interested in using technology in the classroom, you and your students are very welcome to stop by on the second floor, 2010 room to talk with the TTL staff there. We are super friendly, and we are more than happy to assist you with any problems that you have. And our TTL managers, Megan Harris is here. She will, most of the time, she will be at the TTL to help you. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, then ask me now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is it my imagination or we're getting hot air in here? I've placed a call, hopefully we'll get that fixed, but it's the joys of having a newly renovated room, I guess, so we'll see if we can get that going. Next up is Shirley Stumpner, who is going to be speaking to you about the opportunities and services and disability services for students.
Hi, again, my name is Shirley, and if anybody wants to open those doors in the back and get some wind going or crack them open, that would be okay with me, because I can shout out into the hall. And so welcome, Ash. How many of you did your undergraduate here? And how many did your undergraduate in another country? Ooh, very cool. When you were at your undergraduate, did any of you know that disability services for students existed somehow on the campus that you were in? Raise your hand if you know somewhat what they did. Okay, that's really good. I'm going to pass around, these are our brochures. We have a tiny budget. And we also know that students really don't want to carry a lot of things around that say, I'm a student with disabilities, or I'm getting services at Disability Services for Students. So we make these small enough to fit into your pocket, and they basically give you the basic information. If you're going to refer a student, or a student comes to you and talks about a disability, that's something you can do. The other thing that I'm going to pass around, and they did bring enough for everybody, because I know you don't want to keep this paper, because you have enough paper. But take one so that you can sit next to your partner when we talk about academic accommodation memorandum, which we just call a memo, because that's too long. Then share this, and the two of you can look at it together. So I'll start those around as I talk just a little bit, okay? We are located over in the Wells Library, which you'll see over there. The thing I want to start with is that we can't do this alone. Students that have special needs need the collaboration between our office and you as the instructor. So please, regardless of what I say here, if something doesn't make sense, if you need to follow up, there's lots of ways to get in touch with us on our tiny little brochure. And we also have a website. So those of you who are looking at Facebook or some other kind of exciting thing here this morning on your laptop, you might want to go to our new website, which is disabilityservices.indiana.edu. And we also have a Facebook page that you can like us if you would like to. What are you doing here? We serve students that have conditions that significantly impact their ability to take full access of university life. We do not do accommodations in residential halls, but we do work with them. We also definitely work with graduate students. So our main thing is determine what kind of classroom and testing accommodations, and we'll talk specifically about those. We also do teach study skills, time management, and other success strategies for students. One of the biggest populations we have on campus are students with learning disabilities and ADHD, ADD. Probably in our office of over 1,000 students, 75%, maybe 70% have a diagnosis in that category. And so we really find that a lot of students do need help with that. We work with a lot of other places on campus, make referrals to the community and around campus. And why that's important is because sometimes students just don't know where to turn. And so we have a lot of resources that we can share, which we do preliminarily with students, but then if you have somebody and say, I think this student needs X, Y, and Z, you can give us a call and we can try to find where they are. The other thing we do, but a lot of universities don't, is assistance for temporary impairments. So a student broke their right hand and they're right-handed and they need some accommodations for a test. So we can work with you, because it's not covered under ADA, with seeing that maybe they just need extended time on a test, or maybe they need a scribe and they have to come and test over in our office. So those are some of the things that we can do. Also, we do have a van service, which is not part of this, but the van service is primarily for people who have ongoing mobility impairments, but if we have rides on the vans, those people who are hopping around with crutches, we can get them on too. We have 2 vans that circulate the campus and bring you door to door as much as possible. The first thing we need to understand is that students must qualify for services under the Americans with Disability Act or Section 504 of the Rehab Act, which basically says you need to accommodate students with disabilities, and these are just different pieces of regulations that say the same thing. But we get federal money, so we are required to do that. If you're a private school and take no federal money, you don't have to follow ADA. Well, you do have to follow ADA, but not Section 504. FHA is fair housing, and we're seeing a lot more activity in fair housing for individuals that need support service animals or emotional support animals. Those also it's fairly new with some new legislation that's out there, or new court rulings that are out there. So again, if you have a student that is having some emotional problems and they come and talk to you, because a lot of times you're the person they want to come and talk to. You've been that great teacher, you're really helping them out, so that's something that you can refer them over to us for. We have a full range of physical, mental, psychological, as I said, LD, ADHD. There's nothing that doesn't sort of come across our area. And the thing that we need to also remember is that many of the disabilities that affect students on this campus are non-apparent, or what they used to call hidden disabilities. And those are your ADHD, your anxiety, your depression, all of those kinds of things that you don't see. And, in this room, I'm not asking you to raise your hand, but probably at least 3% of the people in this room have some kind of disability that impacts them in one way or another. It's just population that diversity, so we are there. Students are given no extra consideration to come into IU. They must meet all the standards, so keep that in mind, that as we send accommodations out to you, that they met the same standards as everyone else. The accommodations are providing equal access, not give somebody a jump up. And so that's what we're always talking to our students about that come and see us, that this, and sometimes faculty, and you soon to be faculty or wherever you're going in your futures, look at this as possibly giving a student more accommodations than they're giving the next student. So we spend a lot of time looking at documentation out there to make sure that just we're leveling the playing field for students. Okay? And as I said, we do a lot of referrals. So to get students registered, they can go online. Those if you have little laptops, you can find us. There's a little link that says register for services, and it simply gives us their name and basic information. It tells them what kind of service they're looking for. It's very easy for students to get registered with us. And then it tells them that they need to submit some documentation. We put the two together, determine what they're eligible for, then we meet with them and talk to them about how to arrange those accommodations, okay? So now I'm going to have you take a look at that paper that I handed out because I couldn't get it on here. It's not on our website yet. So if we give somebody a handout or a memo it will list not only what the student is supposed to do, and this is helpful to you because one of the things it says is that the student is supposed to come to you within about 2 weeks of getting this, because they have to get to all their instructors. It's hard. They bring you this accommodation memo, and it says you have 14 days to get things in place. Now, please don't take that as I'm just going to wait, it's only the 13th day, I'll get your accommodation tomorrow. So, but it means that if a student brings this to you the day before a test, you do not have to accommodate them. And we tell them that all the time. And you can say, well, you know, your memo said that you need to come early. And I have faculty that have been here a long time and AIs and staff that call and say, they just brought me this yesterday. They haven't been to class for 3 weeks. Do I need to accommodate them? And the answer is no. And what you do is send them back to us, so we can also say no. And, so whatever you get on that paper will outline some of these things. Most of the students get extended time on testing. We'll talk a little bit about the students with visual and hearing impairments. But most of them just get extended time and some other kind of classroom modification. The less common ones are extended time and permission to miss some classes or flexibility in attendance. I'm going to talk a lot about that. Braille, large print, interpreters. How many people know what CART is? Okay, so CART is closed caption. It's real-time closed captioning. So you, as an AI, would be wearing a lavalier. Whatever you say goes zooming out, in our case to Colorado. Somebody immediately types everything you say right into the laptop, and it pops up onto the student's laptop that has a hearing impairment. This is particularly good for students that have cochlear implants because they've never used sign language. So we have maybe 13 students on this campus, which is not very many, that have hearing impairments. More and more of them are coming with cochlear implants, and none of them know sign language. So there's no need for a physical person to interpret. But this closed time real captioning, whatever that's. Actually, I actually don't remember. So I gave you a memo. They deliver this memorandum to you. They need to sit down with you, not given at the beginning or the end of class, because you need to decide how you're going to test them, where they're going to go. You might want to set that up later, but don't just take it and have them walk away. Because remember, a lot of times there's students that are already challenged with organizational skills and so on. And so then you take this and they walk away and they go, I don't know where I'm going to take my test or how I'm going to take this test. So that's your chance to sit down and talk to the student. You may not ask a student what their disability is. If they choose to tell you, that's fine. But there's no part of this that allows you to know that, so that if you have a student, for example, with anxiety, and you think, oh gosh, really, does that make them not be able to come to class? I don't really understand this anxiety thing. I get it if somebody has a learning disability. So your feeling for how that impacts their class can affect that student, and that's why, again, the law says that it's confidential and you can't ask the student. Talk about this. Make sure that the testing accommodation extension is going on. If you have questions, you can send them to us. We have 10 testing spaces. We have 2 rooms with 4 seats in it and 2 private rooms. A lot of times the private rooms are used for students who need computers. They may use Dragon, naturally speaking, which they talk into, something types out their essay for them. Or we have scribes or somebody else who is with them in that room that is helping them with their testing. So that's our private room. And then the smaller quiet rooms have 4 people each, or up to 4. When we get to finals, we actually have to expand those, and we find rooms all over campus. The key to this is, if you cannot accommodate a student, you can't find a place for them to have extended time, that's not a closet, not in the bathroom, not at your desk with 4 other AIs in the same room. It has to be a quiet area, okay, and not totally secluded, and better circulation than this. So, if a student comes to you and they have their classes that overlap in their testing, so we try to get, when we schedule them, we work with them, we're not advisors, but when we work with them, we try to get them to leave some space so they can have their time and a half, and they're not so rushed. We usually tell students that it's good to either think about starting at the same time as everyone else, or ending at the same time as everyone else. So they might come early or start later. What you cannot do, which a biology teacher, long time biology teacher said, all those students with accommodations get up and move to the back room, the back of the room, and you can stay later. Oh, how many think move to the back of the room? None. How many people got to take their test again? All of them. So, when one student came and talked to us about it, then we went and talked to that instructor, and they had to have a whole other test, and they had to make another test, and all that kind of stuff. So it's better to accommodate from the beginning. If you need to send a student to us, there's a form on our website that's called the Test Exam Request Form. We call it a TERF. And it tells us who you are, who the student is, how we're going to get the test, what time you want us to give them the test, and how you're going to get them back. And we can do it snail mail. You can drop them off. We can fax them. We get a lot of stuff through just sending us an email, send us a copy of the test. We print it off, and then we'll put it in an envelope and send it back to you. Snail mail, really campus mail, takes a couple of days, so think about that if you want to get that test back. And sometimes we put them in envelopes, seal them, sign across the seal, tape it, and give it to the student, and they take it back to you. It is really secure place in a silver box. Briefcase. No. Real-time closed captioning, CART, I got it. It doesn't go with the caption.
It doesn't at all.
Remote transcription. Something, remote transcription. I don't know why I can never remember CART. Copies of class notes are real common for students that have slower processing speed. Their focus is not, easily drifts away. I mean, you guys are doing really pretty good at getting me some eye contact, but I know you've been at this really a long time. But think about your students are all day at the end of the day. Oh my gosh. So what we do is we ask you to make an announcement that you have a student that needs some assistance with note-taking in the class. And if you are interested in sharing your notes, please see me after class. If you come up, you get the names of them, you talk to the student about what they think about this, which you send them electronically, whatever. Then you quietly, either by email or later on, you pair those two students together. So the student who's taking the notes knows who they're taking the notes for, and they obviously know that this person needs assistance with that. Again, they don't know why. Sometimes people ask us to be super confidential, and the notes are sent to our office, and we become the intermediary. So, of the 1,000+ students we serve, we maybe do that once in the semester. So it's not that common. It's uncommon. No, it is. Attendance and assignment extensions. This is hard. We have some students that have medical conditions that they have to go and get treatment for during the week. So maybe they're already set up. They have this every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. There's your class. They have to leave campus. They have to get an injection and come back. Students with Crohn's disease have lots of flare-ups. There's a lot of conditions. Maybe I had a seizure the night before, and now I'm still having the repercussions of a seizure. So there are many reasons that a student might not have or be able to get to all the classes. When we give that accommodation on a memo, there's a lot of thought to it, because it can be a great pass never to show up to your class. And we know that, and we want students that we give this to know that we're trusting them to do this, if they exceed this, they can still fail the class. So I've had students, in fact, I had a student this summer who on the third week of a 6-week class brought the instructor a memo that said, I have this disability-related absence form, so that's why I haven't been to class. So when the instructor was like, what do I do? They've missed 2 tests, they haven't done any assignments, and they came and talked to me, and I had a 2-minute conversation with the instructor, and I said, fail. We let students know that this is the case, and the prime thing they must do is keep in contact with you. If they don't, then you can come back to us. You can say to the student, you know, you were going to let me know if you were sick, if you were going to have this problem. And you'll see in a minute that we're going to make it's not exactly a contract, but it is a written understanding between you and the student. And we call it our disability-related attendance agreement. And if I click on this, you can see what it looks like. So you will get this in our memo, and it has on this line, it says, disability-related, which means that we think this person really is eligible for this disability-related absence. Okay? And again, you can't ask them, I'm not going to write it in there, that's because they have seizures or because they have depression or anxiety, and they don't have to tell you. But it's really a reason that they might have to miss classes. It says, however, that it cannot impede the integrity of the course, it cannot change or fundamentally alter the course content. So you don't have to do major things for the student, like give them a whole nother, test them in a way. Greatest example is a student that came and said, I have presentation social anxiety. And I said, okay, so, we can work with that a number of ways, going through CAP, we can work with you, with your teachers about maybe looking at other ways that you can do some assignments until you build up to be able to do a group presentation, depending on what the instructor said. And he said, well, no, I'm taking business presentation. So I said, well, what would that mean to you? Well, it would mean that I wouldn't go to class, I would meet with the instructor individually, and I would give all my presentations to the instructor. And this person was a business student who wanted to be an entrepreneur. So sometimes we have to deliver not really positive information to say, that isn't going to happen here. And they were not happy about that. But we did talk to the instructor and say, do you want to do this? Do you want to do individual? Don't they have to come and do these group presentations? And so we find out on the very first day they have to stand up and introduce themselves. So that student decided to go to another school. And I'm sorry that we lost them, but we did have some alternatives of saying that they could work with CAPS, who does a lot of work, by the way, because we have a great theater department, on presentation anxiety. They do a lot of work with people on test anxiety, both individually and in group sessions. So it wasn't like we just said an absolute no. But we were trying to give them some things that said, here's some ways that you can get over this and take this business class next semester or the following semester. Just the ways to work around it. But we don't just waive classes or take them off. Okay? So this is what you would get. You would sit down with your student. You would go to this thing called a tiny URL, because that was really too long a thing for you to type in. And it's on your memo, and it's pretty self-explanatory that you put your name, the coordinator's name is so we get a copy of it, the instructor's name so you get a copy of it, the student's name so they get a copy back. It has their emails in, your course name so we know what's going on. Then when you get down here, some students have assignment-related issues for a variety of reasons. Most, it's attendance. So it says, does their memo do that? It says, yes. And then it says that we consider it's a reasonable accommodation that does not compromise integrity of the course. And then you guys talk about your course. So if you're teaching a Spanish class and you know that there has to be some presentations and you know that you give everybody 3, you might want to say, well, it's, 5 might work in this class or whatever, or give me a call each time so I know what's going on So all your classes are different, and maybe you're somebody that doesn't take attendance, and you say, well, it doesn't matter. If you can keep up with the course material, I don't care whether you come as long as you show up for the exams. And then it says, if the student misses an exam or quiz, how am I going to handle that? And then some examples are, you can just say, well, maybe I'll give a makeup quiz, maybe I'll give them another paper to write. So it is individual. I can't, all the people sitting in this room are going to want to teach a little differently. You have the course content, and we don't change that course content. We're just telling you that this student needs some additional accommodations, and they are coming to you with some truthful statements saying, can't make the class every day. So how can you work with them to do that? But you have to be realistic what you write in here. So another example is an AI wrote in there, well, the student just needs to get in touch with me at the end of the day or by the next day. So this student showed up for 7 classes for the entire semester. I'm telling you all the horror stories, but there are many better. That 7 classes for the entire semester, and then showed up again on the very last day. And so the person went back to this and said, well, this says you were supposed to get in touch with me, and that we were going to work this out. Oh. Yeah, I had this in writing, and I meant what I had in writing. If we get these back that are some outrageous thing, like you need to meet with me on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock if you're going to miss my class, then we would come back to you and say, let's think of an accommodation that would be a little bit better for them. Okay? So it has to be realistic. Okay? Okay. I'll answer some pretty quick questions. I think I already talked about all these questions. And the person that comes to you and says, I didn't get over to DSS, but I want this accommodation, make sure you send them to us. You do not give accommodations because you put the university into a liability situation saying, oh, I believe you, but I don't believe you. So that can be really difficult. You send them over to us. If you suspect a student has a disability, again, you can't ask. The best thing to do is to give them a lot of resources and make sure that you have included us as one of the resources that if they think they're having some problems, they could see counseling and psychological services, an academic center, or an ESS. In this way, we're not. Okay, do I have 2 minutes for questions? Okay.
Do doctor's notes count?
No.
It needs to come from DSS, right? And
Now
DSS
this turns for ongoing. So if I am sick for one day and you want to accept the doctor notes, that's fine. But no, they can't bring their information to you to have you decide on the accommodation. That's where the university can get in trouble. Thanks, that's what it is. Yes?
Even though it's written in the memo that spatial accommodations are needed for that station, what if that student doesn't come them?
Oh, well, then they don't bring you the accommodation memo. So if, there might be a couple of things in there that they might need for one class and not for the other. So that's the other reason they're bringing to you to talk to it about it. Like, for example, they say, I don't really need note-taking in this class, but I do need extended time. So they can be flexed in there a little bit. No other questions? So good, you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Okay, we're going to be moving on to counseling and psychological services. If you did not get a copy of that memo, Shirley's going to send me a PDF of it, and I'll distribute it to everybody so that you can have that for your resources. We have Mohammed here visiting with us to talk about CAPS. Thanks very much.
Good morning. Thank you. Again, my name is Mohammed Zahir. I'm coming from Counseling and Psychological Services. My background is here in the school education, actually this school education. I did my undergrad here at IU, got a Master's in Higher Education, Student Affairs, and also in Counseling, Counseling Education. Got from IQY, but I took the majority of my classes here in Bloomington. So today, I'll talk to you about the resources here at CAPS, at CAPS here, I guess, and throughout my spiel, if you will. If you have any questions, just kind of shout them out and we'll address them as we go. With that being said, who all knows about counseling and psychological services? This is confidential. Well, confidentiality is huge. Anyone who's not familiar and is okay with kind of raising their hand saying, I don't know anything about that. Good. So we're located on 10th and Jordan, just across from the Wells Library, or the main library, and I guess adjacent to across from the Career Development Center as well. So you as graduate students, we see you often. Yeah, a lot of amazing things we don't see. Yeah, we have because the university, majority undergraduate students may believe you only see undergraduate students, but that's not the case. We often see graduate students, and we see them often. What are some reasons why we will see graduate students at the Counseling and Psychological Services? Anxiety. Depression. Stress. I heard of something. Substance abuse. Depression. Procrastination, yeah. And right, it can lead to anxiety. It's compounded, right? It's like procrastination, you get to counseling, and then by the time you get there, hey, what's it? Work with it. It's fine. Anything else? Relationships. Huge.
Anger management.
Yes. Anger management. Not cousin relationship. I like the word more. But you're all right. You all are correct on these things. Reason why people come to counseling. And working in a university or being in a university is kind of a bubble representation of the larger scheme of the nation. We see a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of relationship issues outside of the collegiate setting, so it makes sense that it's reflected here. So some people compare, we've been in the football season, some people compare going to graduate school, becoming a graduate student, a professional student, is like coming from a college football player to a football player in the NFL. It's a lot more demanding. You know how to play, right? You know the game. You know where to run. But sometimes it may take a little more hard work, a little more preparation. But with the resources you have available, I think you can learn how to cope with those things. Some reasons why, in addition to what you said, adjustment can be a huge one. Moving your job, sometimes moving our families. I know we have families in here. Moving kind of our pieces around us. We may have children who have to go to another school and another state because we are here at the university. I want to hit on imposter syndrome. Anyone familiar with imposter syndrome? Never heard of it. Great. Who has heard of imposter syndrome? Who can give me a snippet of what it is, what it means to you?
When you feel like you somehow they chose you to come to school even though you don't belong here, and
Who's they?
the school.
Okay.
And when are they going to find out that I'm not really the smart person, and they're going to figure me out that I'm some sort of fraud. So
Yes, I'm a fraud. Yeah. Any other takes on it?
Also preparing for everything because you're afraid that you don't know enough information, so you feel a little stupid to your peers or to your professor. So you spend a lot of extra time
Absolutely. Absolutely.
More common among women than among men.
I'm learning. I'm learning.
The downside of fake things.
Oh. I like that. It's a lot of truth to that fake it till you make it, because not really, the imposter syndrome will tell you that you are faking it, right? But really, according to your credentials, you look at your credentials, you're where you're supposed to be. But that's the imposter syndrome. Sometimes you may feel you're not smart enough. You may feel like you're inadequate, or you may have to overwork, and that can lead to other issues. So what are some ways you can kind of combat that imposter syndrome or anxiety or depression we already talked about?
Lie to the imposter.
I'm sorry?
So lie to the imposter.
Lie to the imposter?
Playing around.
I think I got it, but I don't want to just say yes.
Jen gets it. I get it.
They get it, yeah, yes, that's fine. All right. Great. Yes.
I started learning to make I did lists instead of to-do lists,
Oh.
so that I realize how much work I'm getting done in a day.
You know, I wish I had the old school, the projector you write on the board, dry erase, and you just wipe it off and spit or I would definitely write that down. Okay. I did list versus to-do list.
I don't know if this would help everyone, but I meditate, so put everything back in perspective. Just get back to know who I am, not who I'm trying to be for everyone else. Just keep it real.
Yeah. Could you, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
you can say no. Could you tell me a little bit more about your meditation?
Yeah, well, I'm still kind of used to it, so I just kind of put on some headphones and look up some YouTube videos. There are guided meditations, but basically it's all about, what I do is I just try to quiet the mind, just try to quiet your thoughts, observe and relax, and just try to clear my head of all thoughts. And once it's all done, I just take notes in blue ink. It's an energy thing.
Okay. I like it.
And just take notes about what I discovered about myself.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. The reason why I asked you to share, because sometimes we think we have to do something that's very concrete or very kind of huge, if you will. Like I'm doing mindfulness techniques. Sometimes it means you just sitting somewhere chilling, listening to music, and kind of getting back to yourself. Yes.
Because I've struggled with this sort of imposter syndrome before. Having been here for enough years, and keep in mind that I've made it this far without being discovered. I mean, really, how good are you?
Get yourself together. Okay. I like the way you reframe the situation. Okay. Well. Okay. Oh, you guys have a lot of energy. I like that. All right, well, some things I want to kind of go over with you, some of the services that we offer at CAPS. We have, you as graduate students, you are usually assessed a health fee. You should know what your health fee is. Kind of put into your tuition. I believe you have 3 credit hours or more as a graduate student is kind of automatically put on there. And that health fee covers a lot of things at the health center. And you get things such as 2 free, I always put quotation because you're already paid for it, 2 free sessions at CAPS per semester. You get things such as 1 free dietitian appointment, 1 scheduled appointment with a gynecologist for an exam, an annual exam. And these prices vary between, usually it's $10 to $25. But please double check this. I don't want to be the one giving you this information. Oftentimes, your copay is more than the counseling service fee, with your health fee. Does that make sense? So usually it's $20 to see us, but your copay is like $25. So something you may want to run past or just kind of look into to see if that or those numbers work out for you or not. Additional services, we have pharmacy in the health center, and we also have medication, education on contraceptives, sex education, information about sexually transmitted infections, and I believe I covered all of that. Pharmacy. Also, at CAPS we have group counseling, individual counseling, and we have couples counseling as well. So that relationship and anger management counseling. We're available. We are available, and if one of you are a student, in regards to couples, one of you are a student, your partner can come as well. You don't both have to be students. We also have some free workshops, and often we have students who want to say, I want to see you once a week, Muhammad. I'm like, I would love to do that, but it's just not possible right now. So what we can do, I can meet with the student maybe every other week and send them to a group therapy session once a week, or they can use some of our free workshops every other week to kind of supplement the services that we do offer. So often, at the beginning of the semester, we have a flood, kind of pans out, we have another flood, then kind of pans out, we have another flood. So students, you may hear students say, I can't get to CAPS. I can't get there. It's a 3-week wait. It's a 4-week wait. Well, there are other options out there, such as the additional resources I'm sharing with you. Any questions so far?
Are there, for the different services, do you need to call like different people, or can you just call CAPS and be like?
You can call CAPS, or we could call the health center, but if you're looking for something in counseling, you should call CAPS. With something like pharmacy, you can call us, or you just want to say pharmacy. If you don't know the answer, we will refer quickly. As you know, I've done already here. Also, we provide our SACS department with sexual assault crisis. SACS. We have students who have been sexually assaulted on campus. Those resources are available for students, and they are free of charge. But that is kind of a very unique population, but still the service is offered for students. And we often will have students who will talk about past abuse that may have happened. So, I guess moving on.
If they all have concerns about their students in the classroom, what would be the best first step?
Absolutely. First, if you have a concern about your student, you should contact that student. Let them know that you are concerned, that the student kind of shies away from it. Take note of that. That's a big sign. You may have a student who will come out with an issue through a discussion. You may have a student come out in a paper that they're writing about maybe past abuse, maybe past suicide ideations. These are things you need to address, and feel free to consult with us. By any means, we have a number that we're accessible 24 hours a day. We're accessible 24 hours a day, and Monday through Friday, we're in the office 8 to 4:30. Give us a call. And if we're not available, still give us a call if there's someone you can talk to. So first step is letting the student know that you noticed. And it's also a great idea to let your head supervisor or whoever is over you, let them know that there's a situation as well. Last thing you want to do is kind of keep all these things secrets, because then it's kind of all over you.
How would you go about letting the student know? Yo, dude, you're acting weird. Probably not a good approach, right?
Probably not.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Probably not. But you're right, not the best approach. But I like that you went out to let the student know, but you can always pull the student aside after class. Let's say a student's missing class, you can email them and say, I know you missed X amount of classes, can we meet up? Let the students know about your office hours, pull the student aside, outside of class, maybe between breaks, discussions, and let them know that you have a concern, and that you have options, particularly here on campus. And knowing that you have that support as professionals yourselves. So you're not out there on your own saying, hey, how do I deal with the student? You're out here, how can I refer this?
Just to sort of feedback on what you said, I had a situation with the students, and I think they're more just relieved that someone's actually taken, fully through the business, but someone's actually caring enough to take care of this.
Thank you. And along those lines, feel free to ask the tough questions, because chances are it's going to come across as you're being more understanding versus you're not giving someone a new idea. Chances are you're not giving them a new idea. They're thinking about harming themselves, hurting themselves. When you ask about it, they're not going to say, oh, now I want to do it. It'll be more of a thank you for paying attention. Usually, I can't say for everything. I think I'm taking that a little bit. I feel like I left something, but that's what presentation is for, right?
I think a lot of students get free massages.
Oh, I can't speak on that. Free massages, I can't say free massage. Oh, I'm talking about this counselor, like, yeah, massage. I'm not sure about that. I will call before you schedule an appointment. I didn't do that one and say, hey, what about free massage? I was like, excuse me, sir. Trying to ruin his whole afternoon. So I will call before that. But I think the massages that you have are at a really competitive rate compared to others. But again, call before you schedule. Thank you very much.
We'll leave Cap's materials up here for anyone who wants to grab before we head to lunch. Okay, our final presenter for this morning is Joanne Vogt, who's here from Writing Tutorial Services.
Can I take you down, or somebody?
Absolutely.
I can't climb stairs and talk at the same time. That'll never happen. Hi, you guys. I'm Joanne. I'm the one over here asking a rude question about, yo, dude, are you acting weird or what? Yeah, that's me. I'm from WITS, Writing Tutorial Services. That is a service that is open to both graduate and undergraduate students at IU. Writing Tutorial Services is a place where you and the students in the classes you will teach can get help one-to-one with any writing assignment on campus. My job as the person who directs WITS is to hire excellent people, both at the undergraduate and graduate level, and train them, and put them then in contact one-to-one with students who are working on writing assignments. What we try to do at WITS, when students call early enough to get an appointment in advance, is we try to match your student with somebody with a similar background, so they get somebody, like, if you're from music, you get Paul. If you're from philosophy this fall, you'll get Levi. I think we do have at least one education person on our staff right now, so we try to match them up with that. The other thing we have is people, particularly graduate students, who have tutored at WITS for many semesters, and so they've seen people from a lot of classes. This also gives me an opportunity to say that in addition to working with those tutors on a daily basis, I'm the person who does the hiring. If you are a good writer and you like working with people on writing and you're interested in applying at WITS, the information about how to apply to be a WITS graduate tutor is on our webpage. I would be delighted to hear from you anytime. I am always interviewing. I am always hiring. I believe I have a full complement of staff for this fall, but there's always time, right? So if you're interested, don't let that pass you by. Here's what happens. Let's talk. Oh, wait, while I'm on graduate students, let me just tell you the stuff we can do for you. We will meet with you in one-to-one tutorials on whatever papers you're writing for classes, and happily so. We will work with you one-to-one on theses or dissertations. We also offer dissertation
I believe, once again, those are all full for this fall, but we have those every single semester. So, and in the summertime, we usually have a dissertation boot camp, which I assume we'll have next summer. So you're interested in those, we can get you information about that. We do limit graduate students to 2 individual appointments a week because you guys are so much more organized than I know you all think you're imposters, but you're really not. You're way more organized than the average undergraduate who doesn't think always in advance to get his tutorial appointments signed up for, right? So that being the case, we limit you guys to 2 for 2 reasons. One, we want the undergraduate to have a shot at a tutorial now and then. And 2, honestly, we want graduate students, particularly those who are working on big projects, to work on them in between their WITS tutorials, because WITS tutorials can become kind of like we're the Sherpa. We go ahead and put the oxygen out, fix the ropes while you're climbing the dissertation hill. We want to be your Sherpas as much as we can, but we also need you to make progress, right? So back to those undergraduates in your classes. We are delighted to see them. We see about 3,500 appointments a semester, I think, something like that. Most of them are undergraduates. What happens in the tutorial is we will almost certainly start by saying to the student, may I see your assignment sheet? We figure that's what the student is aiming at, right? You put a lot of time and work into making your assignment sheet. We want to give it its due at WITS and start with that. We'll certainly ask the student, what kinds of, did you guys get these over on this one? Okay, cool. What kind of questions do you have? Have you turned in previous papers in this class? What kinds of comments has your teacher made? Where should we start? We will start wherever the student is, from the student comes in with the assignment sheet and a kind of confused look. So we brainstorm. All the way to the student slides the paper across and says, I think I'm done with this copy, but it's due tomorrow. Why don't you look at it? There's one thing we won't do, you guys, and I always like to be just completely upfront about that. We won't just take your student's paper while they run down to Dagwood's for a sandwich and fix it for them. And some of them will say to us, hi, I'm Bob, I need my paper proofread. Here you go. We don't just proofread it. Why don't we do that, you guys? They don't learn a darn thing. In fact, they do learn one thing, and it's a bad thing. They learn to be dependent on somebody else for something they should learn to do for themselves. So we do the much more laborious, and I must say to the students, annoying and time-consuming thing of saying, your teacher's right. You really do have a problem with comma splices. Do you know what a comma splice? And they're so thrilled when we start this discussion, right? Because this is some exciting stuff that you want to spend 15 minutes talking to a tutor about. But people can learn these things, and over time, that's our job, is to help them learn a little bit incrementally until they can edit their own papers. What else should I say? I should say the best way to get an appointment at WITS is to call this big number on this card. I should also say that these are our cards from last semester. It says on here that we are in the Wells Library Information Commons. The truth is that when we open on September 2nd, we will be in a place called the Wells Library Learning Commons. It's the same place, remodeled. So I figured you guys could probably handle the difference between Info Commons and Learning Commons just for the sake of this presentation. We also have tutors. That's our main site, and at that site, the best way to get an appointment is to call this number and sign up in advance. It's good if students can sign up 2 or 3 days in advance, so we have the option of matching them with particular tutors for particular courses. They can also try walking in, but if our fall semester is like most fall semesters, they'll have a lot of trouble once the semester gets rolling seeing anybody, because we'll be really busy. We have other locations, you guys. On the back, it shows you our evening locations in Briscoe, Forest, and Teeter. Those are staffed by our very well-trained, 14-week seminar-trained undergraduate tutors. If I were you as a graduate student, I would not go to those meeting locations, because you will, by definition, you will be meeting with an undergraduate who will be eager and well-trained, but not a graduate student, right? No matter what. If I were you and wanted to come in for tutoring, I'd come into the site in the new Learning Commons. But I'd be happy if I were you to send my folks to those undergraduates. For one thing, sometimes undergraduates are always a bit more intimidated by a graduate tutor, and they feel a little bit more comfy with somebody, and I do often have undergraduate tutors who open education. We will also have, it's not on here, this fall, we will have very limited tutoring time in 3 culture centers. In the Neil Marshall Black Culture Center right up the road here, in La Casa, and in the First Nations Center. So that info will be up on our website. The hours are so limited and so varied. I could spew them at you, but you wouldn't remember them. I can't even remember, and I run it anyway. So, that's just, and we're not going to put it on the bookmark until we're sure they go, until we're sure students will come there. We're hoping students will come to this in those locations. This is a free service. You do not have to bring cookies to your tutor. We encourage it. Never mind. They will eat them if you bring them. But this is a service. It's free in the sense that you have already paid some minuscule amount of your student fees to support this service. So I urge you to try it. I urge you to get your students to try it. And one more thing. If you like what happens, have yourself or your students like what happens, have them tell the tutors. Because tutors get paid, but they're not making a lot of money, right? But they love to hear, oh, that was helpful. That's great. If something you don't like or you don't understand, please call that number and ask to speak to Joanne. That's me. I would be delighted to hear any questions you have or any sort of feedback that you have that you're confused about or you think something isn't quite right. The worst thing that can happen to me as director of WITS is somebody comes to me December the something or other and says, all semester I've been worried about, I can't do anything about it now. So the minute, if you should think there's anything weird, give me a call. We'll talk about it and we'll get to the bottom of it. We keep excellent records at WITS, so I can tell you pretty clearly what happens in any given tutorial on any given day or evening. So we can look up to see, okay, what happened in this case. Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir, please.
What services get available for then I have in school education, we have international students, so they're not comfortable with English. So what sorts of services get available for those?
We have lots of training. In fact, we will have this coming week, we'll have, each tutor will have 4 hours of training. 2 hours of that will be devoted to working with international students. So we regularly train tutors, and usually I don't do the training. I'm not really an expert. We have other people come in. The person who's directing all the sections of W131 multilingual, the basic comm course for multilingual students, he will be doing that training for us because he knows way more about that stuff than I do. We mostly in tutorial end up doing many of the same things with non-native speakers that we do with native speakers because something like 30%, according to the evaluations, about 30% of our time at the tutorial table was spent helping students understand their assignments. What is an annotated bibliography anyway? And if I were to write one, what would it look like and walk like and talk like? I never did this before. If native English speakers are likely to be confused by new kinds of writing, non-native speakers are probably likely to be, right? We probably do spend a bit more time at the sentence level with non-native speakers. For one thing, it's what they've come to expect. For another thing, they deserve the help and want it. And for a third thing, honestly, sometimes we see assignment sheets that say your paper may have no more than 3 errors. Yikes! How terrifying is that for any student, let alone one who's got English as a 3rd or 4th or 5th language, right? Yikes! So we do what we can do. We still don't proofread. So we still have those students working laboriously with us on things like tense, which is often a big problem. Sometimes subject verb agreement things are a big problem. Articles, I can tell you guys this, it may save you some trouble. Articles and prepositions are very late acquired. So if you're getting papers that have problems with articles and prepositions and you think the student is just being recalcitrant or hard-headed, not true. It may take 5 or 10 years of immersion in the language until those things are mastered. They are very late acquired. So if you're spending all your time marking articles and prepositions, you might as well hang it up. Seriously. Because the student is not just being hard-headed, the student is learning English. That's just one of the sort of hurdles you have to get over, and you don't get over that one until late. So we try to do mostly the same things for international students or non-native speakers as we do for native speakers. We do spend a little bit more time at this level. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
There was another question here.
Will there be visiting hours here in school of education?
We do not have our school of education site anymore since we had people right up the hill. And honestly, when we first opened in the library, we left our school of education site open a semester or 2, and we saw more school of education students at the library than we saw here. So these people were sitting around waiting to see someone, and the people at the top of the hill in the library were working their hindies off, so we figured, let's bring them all back, where the live streams is, so we don't have any hours here. Other questions, you guys? All right, thank you so much for coming with me. I hope you
so much. Again, we've got the CAPS brochures up here before you leave. If you would be so kind, I'm going to take questions if there are any last questions, but if you just take a few minutes to fill out your evaluation forms before you walk out of here, there'll be someone collecting them on the way out. And while you're doing that, any other questions or issues or concerns that have arisen during the morning that you want to talk about? I'll be wandering around upstairs where you get to have your lunch, and I'll also be in the Office of Teacher Education throughout the week if you want to come talk to me individually. Oh, okay, this is a good question. So for instance, when you're teaching, what would you have students call you? I would recommend that they address you formally with your last name, but what do other people think? What has been your experience particularly as an associate instructor here? Yeah, I mean, I think it's ultimately a personal choice in terms of your relationship with students and status, a sense of status, but it's certainly entirely acceptable and not a bad idea to have them call you more formally. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I don't know. Are there other suggestions?
I was just going to say, if I asked students to call me Mr. Cormick, then I would use their last name as well, Mr. and Mr. last name.
Some people choose to do that on both directions, which is certainly a good idea as well. Yeah.
So I've got a question. Last semester I had a student kept wanting to call me professor. I was like, no, I'm not a professor. What he really wanted a title. Is it instructor? I don't.
It's a good question.
And I can say, like, no, I don't really have one.
I mean, professor can be considered a generic term too if someone wants to, call you that. Sometimes it's a cultural issue, and they feel much more comfortable addressing you more formally. And so I try to give people the room to do that if they want to. But yeah, I mean, doctor might be a stretch for most of you, but it's looking forward. But professor, I don't think is out of line if someone feels comfortable doing that. But otherwise, Mr. and Ms. is certainly acceptable as well. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'm around. Come talk to me whenever you like. Lunch is on the balcony.
I don't think I can handle another one of those. This is Caitlin. I can't move it. Hey, you.
I don't think
I tried to sit down.
Oh, good. Well, how am I happy?
Yeah. Numbers and everything all in one place. Yeah. Geez. Oh, I will, thanks.
Okay, I will email you. And what's on my schedule? Okay, we're ready. We're tired. Okay, me too. Take care.
Oh, are you guys going upstairs? I think I'm gonna go upstairs. Okay, are you going upstairs or? I
So did you actually fall, or you, I mean, did you like hit the ground, or did you kind of catch yourself as you went down?
I mean, I didn't, my face and stuff didn't hit the ground, but my leg and my hip hit the ground. And when I did, it kind of like buckled on me, and my heels
Right. Yeah. No.
You know what? It's because we have these issues in here.
It's, you're not the first person, so they're gonna address it, they're aware, and to make sure that it's taken care of. But yeah. So what you can do about this, and this is kind of a personal call. So I'm gonna file this, and if you feel that you need to be treated or you want to be looked at, there's an occupational health, where Front Care West used to be. And that is, you know, we're on the west side of town, where Joanne Fabrics, there's my credit union in there.
Join Fabrics, credit union. Okay.
On the west side of town, there's that shopping plaza there. There's a Kmart.
Okay.
I think there's a Kmart in that shopping plaza. So you go into the shopping plaza from 3rd Street, from West 3rd. You sort of turn right as you drive in. Outback Steakhouse is there.
Okay.
That's another landmark.
Sure.
So you kind of drive in as if you're going to Outback Steakhouse, and then instead of turning towards Outback, you turn right. And it's sort of right up against 3rd Street, but in that shopping plaza, and it's called IU Occupational Health. And that is the location where all occupational health injuries, we will send everybody there to be evaluated. It's the kind of thing where, you know, if this starts bothering you, then you'll want to go get that looked at sooner rather than later. If you do that, I'm going to give you a phone number to call, and you're going to want to either send me an email or call me to say, I am going to go over there. And if you do, then that will, I have to send out this authorization to travel. If this happens after hours and you can't catch me for some reason, I wouldn't worry about it because they will still treat you. They'll just follow up with me and say, do we have an authorization to treat you? And I said, yes, because we have this injury.
posterior arc that's still bugging you and starts swelling at all, that kind of stuff, okay, just to be safe. And what they'll probably do is they'll say, sprain your ankle, ice it, take ibuprofen as needed, and they'll do that. But then if it were something more serious, they would have it on record that they've seen you. If you feel like, okay, I'm foolish, it hurts, I took Advil, I'm okay, I know it's a sprain, then you can play it by ear, but err if you're on the fence, err on the side of going. You know, check in. If you're on the fence, err on the side of going. If you feel like, okay, I just want this to be done, and it's bugging me, but it's not that big a deal. Oh, what is sure. So my number is 855-1460, and